Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I'm so excited to have Krista Ripman here with me today. She is an amazing, amazing woman who's worked with a lot of clients and people that you would probably recognize the names of. So I'm excited to welcome her to the podcast. She is the founder and heart and soul of Authentic Audience. Her mission is to inspire others to tell their stories and share their truth through radically honest marketing. Because Krista intimately understands the web of personal passions, online platforms, and the human networks that drive success, she is able to create and hone stunning and compelling brands and digital launches. And Krista, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Yes. Do you want to just share so that I'm not like reading all of the amazing clients that you work with? Do you want to just share with everyone some of the people you've supported over the years in your business?
I mean, it's been a pretty outrageous journey. I started the whole thing working in LA. I thought I wanted to be a movie producer, and I still think of myself as a producer, but in a much different way. And so I immediately, like right out the gate, like Forrest Whitaker was my first boss. And if you aren't familiar with who he is, he's this really incredibly talented Oscar-winning actor, and we didn't have very much in common. But it was a really beautiful experience. So going from working with him and a bunch of people and actors and really just talented people, very young. That was really incredible. And then I left LA and switched gears to like the health and wellness sort of industry. So I lived and worked in Aruba with Rachel Brathen, Yoga Girl.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Until I got deported from Aruba. But I really early on in the Yoga Girl brand, I got to be a part of that. So that was just really incredible, and gave me so many of the tools that I took with me in starting my own business. And then other clients we have are Deborah Silverman. She's a big astrologer. I work with Trevor Hall. He's a musician.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, that's whose family lives in Charleston.
I was going to say, he's from
Yeah.
Charleston. I saw him live here at Music Farm a couple of years ago. And I remember he's like from this area. I think maybe like Hilton Head or something.
Yeah, Hilton Head. And he plays the farm a lot. And actually, there was a film crew there at that show. So I remember that show specifically. But anyway, so yeah, Trevor and Emery Hall, his wife, who's a dear friend, and we lead trips to Nepal together, and Jordan Younger. I mean, so she's the balanced blonde and does a lot of really interesting work in this space. So there's definitely a theme amongst my clients, and it's all very incestual. You know, everybody knows each other, and it's like a big crazy family, and it's very fun to work with them.
Yes, and you've supported Lindsay and Krista from Almost 30, right?
Yeah, I love them. We're in the middle of a project right now. I always forget about them. I don't know why, because I talk to them almost every day. But they're like my favorite people. They're so funny, and so sharp with business. I think oftentimes when we turn our passion or hobby into a business, it's hard to like have a business mindset around it. And they really embody that. They're funny, they're spiritual, they're intuitive, they're feminine, but when it comes to like getting down and cranking out the work, they're like my dream clients, because they just do what we say, and they're professional and engaged and have an incredible team. They're really good at delegating, and yeah, I learn a lot from working with them.
That's amazing, because I feel like a lot of the brands or the people that you have just listed are brands and people that I think have made tremendous impact online over the past 10 years. I don't know how long it's been since like Yoga Girl and Rachel Brathen really started her brand. I mean, you know, because you were there.
Yeah, it was, well, the Yoga Girl brand was there before I moved there, but I was there in 2013. And at that point, her audience was like maybe 200,000, so
Mhm.
big.
Yeah.
But now it's over 2 million. She has the whole platform, she has the studio. It's a much bigger thing than it was
Mhm.
back then, but we all start somewhere.
Mhm. It's funny that you said that, because I was going to say, I work with a lot of women in business who are just getting started. Some of them,
Me too. Me
have a
too.
lot of bigger, they've cultivated an audience of maybe like 30,000 or something like that. But for most people, they're starting from a much smaller spot, like
Oh
maybe a
yeah.
thousand, right? Or a
Yeah,
couple hundred.
maybe at best.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. And so a question that I often get is like, how do I actually grow my audience and make sure that I'm attracting my soulmate clients? And I think I would love to hear your perspective on this, especially around like what do you find are the key difference makers between people who kind of stay um, at a certain level of visibility or of their audience, and people who really like pop. That's the best
Mhm.
word I can think of to describe
Yeah.
what I'm meaning, but like really go to that next level, create that sort of quantum leap around visibility, building an audience, really having a loyal tribe. Because I know with like Lindsay and Krista with Almost 30, for example, and I'm sure with Rachel Brathen and all of these people that you've listed, what they've really done, what I admire about them, is that they've built a really incredible community, not just
Mhm.
an audience, but a community of people who are very loyal, very engaged. So I know that's a big question,
Yeah,
but
I think it's an
let's chat
important,
about it.
yeah, I think it's an important thing to talk about. So a couple of things there. One thing you hit on, which is really important, is engaged.
Mm.
So it really doesn't matter how many followers you have if they're not engaging with you, if they're not quality followers. What I mean by that is people who engage, they sign up for your webinars, they come to your workshops, they buy whatever it is that you're selling. And so cultivating an engaged audience is the key word in all of this. Jordan does a really good job at this, the balance bond. Whenever we do a launch, it's like mind blowing how engaged her audience is. And you can have an engaged audience at any level. So we'll start by first saying, even if you have, say, 500 followers and 100 people sign up for your webinar, and maybe your offer is $1,000, like you're doing a course or something, and 10 of those people, because of 10% conversion rate, if 10 people from your webinar purchase, you just made 10 grand. So I think we really need to start by nurturing the people on our plate, by taking care of the people in our community. And all of these people that you've named have always done a really good job of that, regardless of the size. So when you are really engaging, posting authentic content, storytelling, vulnerable, raw, valuable information, and engaging with the people that are already there, it's going to naturally expand. Now, other things about social media. One, timing is everything. So when Yoga Girl and Jordan Younger, the Balance Blonde, joined Instagram and really had their rise, it was before a lot of the algorithm changed. You could still reach everybody that was following you. Remember the good old days of Instagram where when you posted something, it actually got in front of everybody that followed you. Right
Must
now
have
it's
been
maybe
nice to start a business
10%.
at that time, right?
Exactly. So I just want to say, timing is everything. It doesn't mean it's not in your purpose or path to have a big following or a big audience, but that's really important. Also, when I look at Jordan or Kristen, Lindsay, for example, they have it. And by have it, I mean they are so good at going on, doing a selfie story, connecting. They're confident, they're dropped in, they're super vulnerable. The authenticity just bleeds through the screen, and it's hard to fake that. So for me, seeing people that just have it, and Rachel is one of those people, like when she walks into a room, her energy is just there. Like people want to know who she is, whether it's in real life or on social media. So there's this energy that we sort of possess, and it bleeds into our social media accounts. So when you go out to lunch with Jordan and you're sitting across from her looking her in the eye, like that personality, that persona, that's not a persona that we're seeing on social media. That's Jordan. Like the way she talks about channeling the Pleiadians and looking into your eyes. And like, you know, I met her and within 5 seconds, she was like, wow, the blue in your eyes, like you're really connected to some like Pleiadian, like starts like doing this like woo woo thing. Like that's Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
So I think by owning who we really truly are, which is so hard. I'm teaching a marketing fundamentals course right now, and people just have such a strong resistance across the board. If you feel this, you are not alone. Into really sharing or posting a selfie video when you just woke up, or even just posting a picture of your face at all.
Mm-hmm.
And if we look at these accounts that we follow day in and day out, they're real. Well, at least the ones I follow.
Mm-hmm.
There's a realness, there's a resonance, and there's also a specificity to what they're doing. So if you look at what Jordan's doing, the courses and launches and ebooks and everything is very specific. Same thing with Krista and Lindsay. All of their paradigm series they launched, one was on anxiety, another one was on sex. Like the more specific we can get, it's easier to create an audience that way. With Rachel, I mean, at the beginning, she was like the only person, I know this is hard to believe now in 2020,
Right.
but posting vulnerably, like it was her journal, along with these yoga photos that no one had really seen before on Instagram. So she wasn't afraid to sort of like step out of the norm. At that point, it was like, you didn't want to post anything that was other than perfection, really. And she was the first one that I followed, because I followed her, to really break that mold. So to answer your question, I think the more you can, one, take care of the people that are already in front of you. So engage with them, provide them value, connect with them, build relationships. Like all of these people, what they have in common is they have a relationship with their community. They are in service to their community. It's not about whether they're having a good hair day or not. They're posting something to be in service to their community. Like Krista, when she goes on from Krista and Lindsay, like, you know, her hair's messy and she's not like, you know, done up. Sometimes she is, but other times, like she just posted this really funny rant about a Kanye conspiracy. And I was like here for it, you know, and she was just like sitting in her bed because she's earned the trust. So I think it comes over time. It doesn't happen right away. I mean, you can get a big boost in your following right away, but to actually engage that community as like people who are going to purchase from you and join you and like be a part of your journey, that takes time.
Mm-hmm.
And really nurturing the people in front of us, making sure that your engagement is good, they're taken care of, it will naturally expand over time if you're being real with your audience. And I like to think that as a culture, we're becoming more and more conscious of what's real and authentic. And I am seeing authenticity win time and time again, which is very exciting because I based my whole business on that idea. So
Yep.
I'm glad it works.
Yay.
But it's beautiful. So I think, you know, to sum it up, timing is a big thing. Not constantly trying to get new followers, but take care of who's on your plate now and engage with your community now is a big one. And then be as authentic as you can in what you're sharing.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
That's so helpful. I feel like people might be thinking as they're listening to this, well, how long will it take? You know, how long does it take? Like it takes time. But I think what I've seen and learned firsthand in my own business and with my clients as well is like that consistency over time is what creates that too. Like that engaged audience and that people, they know what they can come to you for. They know why they're following you. They come to expect certain types of content or certain types of value that you're serving through like certain channels, right?
Yeah. And I think to answer the question, how long will it take? My best advice for that, and it might not be the advice you want to hear, is to be where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have 500 followers, serve those people. If you have 5,000 followers, serve those people, connect with them, be in service, right? And that doesn't mean creating things that are out of alignment for you. It means finding the balance between creating things, posting things, sharing things that are in alignment for you and in service to your business and your customers or your audience or whatever that is. So
Mm-hmm.
wherever you are, whatever size following, I'm sure there's something or 10 things you can do this week to engage with them, create that connection, build that relationship. And you'll see, like, so many people will like tag me in a friend's post, right? Or something like that. That's like really deep and vulnerable and specific. And they're like, oh, I feel like you would love this person, So the more that you can really share that, people will naturally want to like spread the good word of who you are,
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One thing I try to think of and remind my clients to think about when it comes to like the numbers around
Mm-hmm.
audience size is if you actually put those people in a room, it would probably feel like much more than what it looks like online, right?
Oh
Like
my God. I
as
think
a
that's a
number.
great example. Yeah. If you had every single person following you in a room and their eyes on you, I bet it wouldn't feel so small.
Right. Yeah. Right. And so I think if we can treat it that way, like if these people were actually in a room with you and your goal was to serve them, what would you give? Or how would you
Exactly.
show up? Or how would you connect with them? Or what would you
Or
want to
just
offer?
one person. I think
Right.
a big piece of advice that I give people who are just starting out, it's get one customer, get one client,
Mm-hmm.
and give them a killer experience, because the best form of marketing has and will always be word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
So if your product or experience sells itself, right? If somebody gets in and they have an amazing experience with you, then it's going to naturally and organically create momentum. Then marketing strategies and campaigns will just escalate that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have that organic connection and momentum, that's sort of the best space for a foundation. And when I talk to my audience, for example, I have a small audience, but they're very engaged. And by small, I mean I have 11,000 followers, but people who actually engage with me on a daily basis are like under 2,000.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm actually just talking to one person, and I create a customer. I have every client do this, and this would be a great sort of thing for you or for your audience, whoever is listening, to write a letter to your dream client or your dream customer. And that's when you work with me, that's where we start. And it's what are they experiencing right now? Who else do they follow, right? What inspires them? What books are they reading? What are they watching on Netflix? Like, who is this person? Because we're not talking to just some like vague, face out there. There's a real person that we're wanting to serve and connect to. And when you can get really specific in who this person is, turns out we're all really similar, right? So there's a lot of them out there, but there's somebody out there that is looking for you, that wants your services. And because sometimes we're really vague about what we're sharing, or we're not specific enough, we're not hitting that. So we want people to feel our writing, whether it's on social media or email or copy on an ad, and feel like, oh my God, she's talking to me.
Mm-hmm.
And when people can feel that, and I get messages all the time, like, I feel like this was built for me. I'm like, yeah, because it was. Like,
Yeah.
I'm literally talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad you showed up, because you're who I made this for, right? And then I look at my course, and I have 30 people in my course right now, and I like just look at them in awe, because I'm like, you're exactly who I was talking to. They're all experiencing the same resistance.
Yep.
They all have these gifts. They don't know how to get them out there. So yeah, if you can just talk to one person, you're probably going to reach a lot more. But just starting with, that one person you're here to serve is like, makes all the difference.
Mm-hmm. And that's where the work remains fun. Like once they're actually signed up and working with you, now you get to work with your actual dream clients who you were speaking to the whole time, who get it. And there's not this kind of like wonky energetic wobble around being able to actually serve them really well and have fun while doing it and
Yeah.
feel just as fulfilled as they do about the experience too. And I love that you shared that, because I feel the same way. Like it's the best feeling to be like, oh yes, hello, here you are. I was speaking to you out into the like
Yeah.
ethers for a while, and here you are, and you're real, and we're here, and we're doing this, and it's the best feeling in the world. I love
Yeah.
that.
I love that you said that too, like it's mutually fulfilling, because it really is when you're doing that work and it's aligned. Like I see the course I'm teaching right now, how valuable it is for everybody, but I look forward to the calls just as much. And like, that's where the magic is, So yeah, it's really fun when your dream customers and clients show up.
Yes, yes. And so what you do with people is to help them actually make that happen. Like actually have that
Yeah.
be the reality for them and their businesses.
Yeah. So a lot of the work I do is helping people. My company's called Authentic Audience. We're a marketing company. I'm in sales at the end of the day. That's what marketing is, making
Mhm.
sales. But bigger than that, it's building relationships. So I help people find their dream customers, find their audience, talk to them, serve them, create content, value, courses, things like that. Um, through marketing strategies, of course, but then also through the bigger game of resistance to selling, resistance to promoting ourselves. Like I say I'm a marketing coach, but it's really like a resistance coach, because
Yeah.
once you can get past the resistance of your value, your price, your offer, all of that, marketing becomes so much easier.
That is so true. Yes, because it's never really about the thing that we think it's about, right? It's like 10 layers deeper,
No,
really.
you are in your own way right now, wherever you are. Like the thing that's in the
Mhm.
way of your business going to the next level is you.
Mhm.
And I'm sorry to say that, but it is. And
I know,
so,
the hard
but
truth.
also it gives us control, right? And I love control.
Mhm.
So knowing that it's my resistance or, my whatever wavering that's like stopping me from launching that thing, posting that thing, it actually is great to take some of that control back and really separate myself from my business and say, okay, I am not my business. My business has an energy and a life of her own, and this is what she's asking of me today.
Mhm.
And then I can just be in service to my business, which is a lot easier for the ego.
Mhm.
When we can be in service versus this is all about me and it's the Krista show, it just like causes so much more fear and self-doubt and unworthiness. And I mean, list of
Mhm.
wounds goes on and on.
Right. Yeah. And it just perpetuates that.
Yeah.
Again, it's just a loop of all of that. And that's such a beautiful point. I feel like you and I speak the same language, because I feel like I probably have said the exact same words before about like
I love
my
that.
business and the way that it has a soul of its own, and that we get to interact together and build something great and co-create, but it's not just me, and it's not all
Mm-hmm.
about me, even though my brand is technically my name or whatever.
Totally.
um it's not really like I am also a human outside of work, which is
What a
freeing
concept.
too. I know, right? What a concept. Not maybe the loudest opinion or loudest way of being in the entrepreneurial space. I don't know.
But it's a good way.
It's a great way. Yeah, it's what works, I think, what's actually sustainable. Um,
Definitely.
that kind of leads me to this idea of, I know you talk a lot about energy in your work, and I love that. And I think that's such an integral, important part of marketing, because you just can't, like, you can have all the right structures. And I've seen this before with people. Um, you can have all the right like funnels and this and that and the other thing and the right like structure set up, but then they feel kind of empty and they don't really work because the energy isn't there. It doesn't really feel authentic. It's sort of like someone else created it for you and plopped it into your business, and
Mm-hmm.
it feels flat or rigid or something. So what's not working right now? Because I feel like there's a lot going on in the online marketing space. There are a lot of competing voices, opinions, strategies, methods, etc. So what's like not really working anymore? What's like on its way out, or what's just like not working and never really worked?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. And it's a hard one to answer because I think for, sorry, my iPad's in here. I
That's
thought I
okay.
put everything on Do Not Disturb. I'm like, what is ringing? I put everything off. My iPad's in the office. Okay. I think that's a really good question because for so many people, what works for someone else isn't going to work for you.
Mm-hmm.
So even though maybe it has worked or had worked in the past or at some point, like what got us here isn't necessarily going to get us to the next level, right?
Mm-hmm.
So right now, it's a very interesting time because everybody's online. We're in the middle of COVID and we're just entering a completely new way of being, which for me is awesome because all my work is online. What's not working? Well, one thing that never works is when you take somebody directly from awareness to sale.
Mm.
So marketing and the customer journey is awareness, consideration, purchase, right? That's the buyer's journey. So if you think about everything you've ever bought, you first become aware that this thing exists. Then there's that consideration phase, depending on the price. Maybe I'm going to look at other things out there. I'm going to see the competitive market, whether it's, which email platform you're deciding between or like a couch, whatever. Everything you've ever bought, this is our journey: awareness, consideration, purchase. And the more expensive the thing is, the longer the consideration process. And for me, marketing really happens in that consideration phase. I call it the nurturing phase or the building relationship phase or the dating phase. And so many people skip this phase. So they're like, hi, I'm so-and-so, buy this thing. So they go straight from awareness to sale or straight from an ad to a sales page with no nurture, no consideration, no building trust, no building relationship. And that's a huge mistake because we're missing the juice, the beauty of connecting with our clients in that opportunity and creating long-term clients and loyal clients. And it's so much cheaper and easier to retain a customer or client than constantly go out and find new ones. So two things. One, when you take somebody straight from like, hi, this is who I am, to buy this thing, it's like asking somebody to move in with you on the first date. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
not probably going to go very well. You're probably not going to have a very high conversion rate. Versus, hi, here I am. Let me give you this free value. Let me give you some more information. Here's my why. Here's my story. Here's what other people have to say about working with me. Here are some offers if you're interested. P.S. Finally, I have 5 spots left in this thing that starts Friday. Oh, if
Mm-hmm.
you're not interested in that, here's some more value. Oh, you purchased? Great. Now I'm going to nurture the hell out of you and let you know I care and really focus on serving you. So that's the other mistake, is once we make the purchase or we get the sign up or we get the money, we stop nurturing that person and we stop building that, the relationship stops. So if you look at these people, like Jordan is a great example, and I'm doing a webinar for her today. She nurtures her audience like beyond belief. They feel like they're a part of her journey. She's constantly giving free value, free webinars. She goes live. She gives away that she does giveaways all the time, like big $2,000 juicers. She'll partner with them and give them away. She takes care of her audience and takes them with her. And then, for example, we're about to launch something new, and I can say this because it will already be launched when this comes out. It launches tomorrow.
Yeah.
And the people who have purchased in the past, they get the VIP email with a major price incentive to buy it again. She's taking care of them first. And then she's going to go out and try and talk to new people and get new people involved. But I think that's the biggest mistake, is we're always trying to get cold leads and get people who have never even heard of us to buy something, instead of taking the time to really nurture somebody through the process. And Deborah Silverman, she's an astrologer. She does this really, really well. She starts her sales sequence for this applied astrology program 3 months in advance. And it's just free value, free videos, all of this amazingly valuable content that leaves you wanting more. And you get that for almost 2 months before you ever see the option to buy anything. And then you get put into the sales sequence. So Yeah, I think that the thing that doesn't work is expecting somebody to buy from you without earning their trust and without actually like putting time, energy, and money and like investing in them,
Mm.
if you want them to invest in you. So that's to me like the thing that bums me out, I think, when I see that. Um, and then also when you like hide behind your brand or your funnel. So you're like, I just want to like put this out there and make passive income. And it's like
Mm.
not personal at all.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like that intention is off. And intention, so on my podcast, I just constantly am interviewing people who inspire me, who have created something successful, really successful. Like today, Susie Batiste is on my podcast. She's incredibly successful. And intention
Mm.
is like everything. So, and I see that every interview I do, that the common thread is the intention was like so in service and from creativity and like not to make money originally. And it's
Mm-hmm.
okay if abundance is part of the intention, but if you're just like, I just want to make 6 figures on this launch and not put any work in,
Mm.
I hate seeing that because you're missing this like beautiful opportunity to connect with these people who are going to give you their energy and their money. So
Mm-hmm.
going back to energy, to me, money and the exchange of it is so sacred. And when you give somebody your money, you're giving them your energy in exchange for their energy. And so that whole process is so sacred. And when you remove yourself from that, or you take somebody straight to a sales page, like a checkout, instead of doing like an application or a sales call, you're just like missing an opportunity to really connect around that exchange of energy. So yeah, I think the biggest mistake is we're just not nurturing our audiences enough, and we're not like really taking the time to like earn the trust. We're just expecting it, and then we're mad when we
Mm.
post one thing and nobody buys. It's like, well,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Right. And just like any other relationship, like if you were dating someone or married to someone and you completely ignored them and didn't give them anything and then expected that they show up and give you some energy when you ask for it, it's like, well, there's an
Exactly.
imbalance, right? There's an imbalance in the energy there and the
Yeah.
give and the receive. And you can just, you can rebalance that. That's possible. But
Yeah.
don't be upset when you didn't give and now you're trying to receive, just like you would in any relationship. The same goes for your business.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful way of putting it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, let's talk a little bit about mindset. You kind of touched on this around just the resistance that comes up for people when they're getting into their marketing in the first place and
Mm-hmm.
visibility and putting themselves out there. What are some of the things that help you or that help some of the clients that you serve to be in an aligned, supportive mindset around putting yourself out there, marketing your services, entering into this sort of like sacred financial exchange? How do we set ourselves up for success around that?
Yeah, I mean, mindset is really everything because I can teach you the strategy and I'll give you the strategy and it will work, but only if your mindset is clear that it's going to work. So, resistance comes in many forms. We're comparing ourselves to other people. We're telling ourselves imposter syndrome, who are we to do this, right? The list goes on and on and on. But for me, and what I tell my clients is when resistance is present, to me, it's the biggest sign that you're on the right track because resistance actually equals authenticity. That's what I believe
Mm.
because our soul, has this calling, has this purpose, but our ego wants us to fail. Our ego wants us to live in self-doubt. Our ego never wants us to launch the thing. Our ego is our biggest sort of critic, and doesn't want our soul's purpose to really come shining through. So when you're feeling resistance that strongly, that's our ego like fighting so hard to keep you from doing this thing. And so when you feel that, like welcome it. I talk about having coffee with resistance, or Elizabeth Gilbert talks about putting fear or resistance in the front seat
Mm-hmm.
in her book, Big Magic. And whatever you have to do. I have a mug that actually says resistance on it. I'm a very visual person, and it's like, yeah, here we go again, another day where we're going to face resistance around launching, posting, sharing, creating this thing, but like buckle up because we're doing it anyway.
Mm.
So that's one thing, is like resistance is going to be there. And so how we dance with that is a big part of it. Two, the book, The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. I make everyone read this book.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very short read, and it just redefined resistance for me. And I know so many other people, especially artists or creators. It's an amazing, amazing book. Very short, easy to get through in one sitting. And then the third thing is, if you think about your dream client and you close your eyes and they're sitting right in front of you, and they're like in desperate need of your services or your products or whatever it is that's going to transform their lives, and you don't make the sale, you're failing them.
Mm-hmm.
You're not, I mean, you can just go out and sell it to somebody else, but they're the ones that are missing out. Like, they are who you created this for. They are struggling with pain point, exactly what your service solves. And you don't make the sale because you don't ask for it, or you don't share enough, or you don't provide enough value to make them realize how amazing this thing is. You're failing them, because they're going to go out and they're going to find somebody else that's probably not as good or as qualified, that's not you. And when I really got into that mindset with my, 2 years ago, I launched this program, and I was terrified to do sales calls. Like, the resistance was so strong. I didn't want to do a sales call. And then I realized that a sales call is just an opportunity to build a relationship. And if they're right for the service, if they're my dream client, then I'm doing them a disservice if I don't make the sell,
Mm-hmm.
because they're going to miss out on my offering. And that shifted mindset. And the funny thing about mindset is you actually have to believe it.
Mm-hmm.
So, you can trick your mind in a lot of ways. And I have lots of great techniques in how to like trick ourselves into believing certain things until we actually believe them. But when you can actually believe so fully in your gifts, knowing that if I have an opportunity to work with this one person, or they get to use my product or my service or whatever it is, come to my class, come to my workshop, and they're going to walk out a better person, then it should feel good to create that exchange of energy with them.
Mm-hmm.
It should feel good taking their money, because you're going to give them so much value in return. So those kinds of like tools I work with a lot with people around selling and resistance and pricing, and just really valuing your offer. And the first thing, like the very, very first thing I would suggest you do, is figure out what your gifts are.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an ego thing. It's a soul thing. Like, what do you walk into a room with? What do you give every interaction, exchange, whether it's business, personal? What do you bring? And recognizing that that's unique to you. And that even though it's a very competitive market, I mean, look at me. There's a million ad agencies. There's a million marketing coaches and strategists and blah, blah, blah. But no one's me.
Mm-hmm.
No one is me and can deliver it and strategize it and intuit it in the exact same way that I can. And so that makes me really good at what I do. It also, there's other people out there that are really good at it too. They're just not doing it in exactly the same way I am, because they're not me.
Mm-hmm.
So recognizing our uniqueness and our gifts and what we bring to the table is really, really important. Especially when it can feel really saturated, like the markets.
Mm-hmm. Which I feel like it's interesting, right? Because we didn't used to have access to so much comparison at our actual fingertips, right? So we didn't really know if I was a photographer or a coach or whatever in my little community. I didn't know that there were 20,000 others, in
Exactly.
Italy and Bali and like everywhere else across the world. But now, with globalization and technology being what they are, we can compare ourselves in 2 seconds to like 500 other people and think that we should somehow be like them, or start placing them and ourselves in this weird hierarchy. and it just doesn't serve us at all. It keeps us so stuck. Like, there's a way to be inspired by what other people are doing, but comparison in that way, it's just so accessible that we have to set some boundaries with it.
Exactly, boundary with being the key word there. I think, comparison is the biggest form of resistance. My therapist calls it compare and despair. Even if I'm, or our marriage, or our couples therapist, I'll be like, oh, well, like, our friends, they do this. And she's like, oh, we're comparing and despairing. Like, we can't do that, And I was actually on a satsang with a teacher in India this morning, and the entire Dharma talk was about comparison. And so I was just looking at my notes because I took all these notes on her call, and she said, just remain with your work. Comparison will dilute your focus.
So
and
true.
It's just like, and I think the fact that this Indian sort of sadhu and guru is speaking to it, it's just that obvious in every single person's life. Like, everyone is dealing with this. People on that call this morning are from everywhere in India. There's Westerners, there's everyone. And the whole talk was about comparison. So it's obviously something that we're all dealing with, right? This Indian sadhu is like, I'm going to talk about comparison today. So it's very real. And to me, it is the biggest distraction, and it's good to see what other people are doing and feel inspired. But when we switch our focus or switch our, soul's sort of purpose based on someone else's dharma, it's just such a bummer, because we have a purpose, we have a reason. And if we try and even, shift our strategy because, like, I saw someone else doing this strategy, so I'm going to do that. But that's not your path, and so it's hard to delineate. And I think it's a daily practice of finding that balance.
Right. And I think we just live in a world that says there is a way, and there is a right way, and there are many wrong ways, and there is a best way, and there is like an objectively better way, or an objectively better relationship, or an objectively better business model or launch strategy or whatever. And so we're trying to like reconcile what the world is telling us about this hierarchical linear model of like best and better and whatever. And then we're also like, okay, but I'm a soul having a human experience with my own path. And even if you're aware of that, right, there's still the human aspect of like, it's a bit of a tug of war for all of us, even when we know cognitively that that we are a soul having a human experience and all of these things. It's still like, it doesn't take away.
But we're human right now,
Right.
I have a teacher who, like, when I'm having an experience, he'll say to me, your humanity's showing, as just like, he's really funny in that way. And he's very like, spiritual and peaceful. And like, all he does is live on this compound and teach yoga. So he's not really like in the real world like most of us are. And I'll say something that's like totally judgmental or jealous or something, and your humanity's showing. And I just think that
I love that.
because we are, we're having a human experience, and that's a whole part of being here. We can't forget that. But I think finding the dance and the balance between the two is important.
I actually really love that phrase, your humanity is showing, because it's so like, it's non-judgmental. It's just like, oh, this is the piece of me that I'm leading with right now, not my soul, right? It's just like, oh, this is happening, without making it wrong or bad or whatever. It's just like, oh, this piece of me is speaking right now, just like my inner child might speak, or my higher self might speak, or whatever. I love that. I'm going to start using that for myself.
I do too.
I
do it too. Yeah. I have stolen that because I just think it's such a beautiful way of like sort of checking somebody back into the observer, it's like flipping them back in.
I love that. I think it's interesting, especially in 2020, right? Like, everyone's humanity is definitely showing this year.
Oh yeah.
In a much bigger way than maybe normally is happening. Or it's just amplified. Like, our humanity is showing in an amplified way for sure. It's a
Oh
lot.
yeah. I think everything's amplified right now. For me, the
Mm-hmm.
spiritual practice is amplified and my humanity. And for
Yep.
me, and I've talked to this before, like the deeper I get at points into my spiritual practice, the more judgmental I become. Like it's almost like
Mm.
my ego gets stronger along with my soul in a weird way. And I've talked to some babas like in this little temple in Nepal about this, where we can sit and ask them questions. And I'm like, the deeper I go, the meaner I get, like the more righteous I get. And he's like, the poison comes before the nectar. So it means
Mm.
you're on the path, so
Oh, I love
because
that too.
I know these people, I mean, I'm telling you,
So profound. You
so
would think
profound.
that's like their job or something and
Yeah.
their purpose.
Totally. Totally. But that answer to me, like when I am having a judgmental thought or a righteous thought about like, how do they not know? Like, this is the way, and like getting righteous in my spiritual practice. And my husband jokingly, my grandmother is pretty righteous in her religious practices, that's caused, a big rift between us over the years. And he'll say to me, okay, Oma, like when I get righteous about spirituality, because it's like so funny the things that we do as humans, and how that bleeds into our relationships and business. It's just,
Mm-hmm.
it's almost comical.
It is. It actually is very comical.
Yeah.
when we can approach it from that angle and stay in the levity of it, I think it's funny. It's almost predictable
Oh yeah.
sometimes, right? Like it's like, oh, of course, because this is happening, or
Yeah.
oh, of course I'm feeling resistance because I'm doing this big freaking thing and I'm stepping out of my comfort zone and it's something worth doing in my business and in my life. So yeah, the resistance, the ego, the fear, the whatever, the excuses, the distractions, the temptation to go into comparison or something else is just strong.
Oh yeah.
So,
And it's not a bad thing as long as we can recognize it and do the thing anyway, and
mm-hmm.
write the thing, join the thing, launch the thing. That's always my advice, is like whatever it is that you're working on right now, take one action this
Mm-hmm.
week towards launching it, selling it, creating it. Whether that's even sitting down and writing an outline, or it's writing a personal email to somebody that you think would be perfect for your offer and say, hey, I thought of you, I'm launching this thing, are you interested? Like whatever, but just one action step that will show resistance, like you're serious. And the more serious we take our business, the more serious the world takes it. So
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I love that. Thank you. Thank you for joining me
yeah,
today. This was such a fun, beautiful conversation.
thanks for having
And
me.
you're welcome. Would you like to share where everyone can find you and learn more about your courses and your services and your programs and all the things?
Yeah, everything lives at authenticaudience.co.co. You can find my podcast there. It's also just called the Authentic Audience Podcast. You can listen to that anywhere you get podcasts. Um, what else? I have a course called Marketing Fundamentals. We are in the middle of it right now, but I'll be launching another one soon. And then the way to work with me one-on-one is I do these custom strategy sessions where we do a 90-minute deep dive together, and then I build you a custom 30, 60, and 90-day strategy. Yeah. So I post a lot on social media between business and mental health and spirit life things.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just Krista Ripman on Instagram. So yeah.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for tuning in. I will catch you next week.